Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I didn't know that we were going to be competing against another meeting, so when we showed up, I didn't realize there was two things going on. But thank you all for coming out to our CIP meeting. Just to reiterate what this meeting is for, we have not completed our CIP yet. This is just part of the process. So we have already met with our department heads. They have talked about what is important to them. We've also met with other stakeholders, such as the Health Department, the Board of Education. And so this part is where the public gets to come out and talk about what is important to you. What would you like to see in the CIP? So the CIP, remember, is a plan. It is a planning document that is a 5-year document. As you go through it, you will see where things fall, I think. Wait, before I say that, let me see what's going to be on there. Okay, yeah, so we have a list in here of the projects that we're putting forward. And so we would love to hear from you if you have any comments. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Pam, our finance director, and I appreciate you all being here.
So I'll first start with the definition of a capital project as it is written in our charter. It is the building or purchase of any physical public betterment or improvement. It's the acquisition of property. And so there are a wide range of items that fall under a capital definition per the county. And that include land, bridges. It includes building new cells at the solid waste facility. It includes renovating schools. It includes renovating or building new schools. It includes roads. I think I already said that, sorry. So this list is intended to be the large projects over the next 5 years that the departments have stated that are on their horizon of things that need to be done. And as the executive stated, these items are what the department heads have, and we have a CIP timeline on the next slide that basically says, starting in September, we reach out to the department heads, we start meeting with them and asking for what things they have on their list for the next 5 years. Obviously, we start with the things that had been on the previous list, but sometimes priorities change, sometimes things get pushed back, sometimes things move forward. So we meet with them. Then we are in the November timeframe one, and the November timeframe is we have a public hearing. This public hearing is not intended to release the plan. This public hearing is intended to get, is there anything that the public knows about in Wicomico County that they think needs to be on this plan? Is there a road that you think needs to be rebuilt? Is there a bridge you think needs to be done? Is the library an important thing to you? Is a specific school important? As such, that's what this meeting is intended to be. It is not intended to give you a list of a completed program yet. We are required by the charter to submit to the council on the 3rd Tuesday in December this document. So they will receive this document on the 3rd Tuesday in December, and at that point in time, then it becomes the council's document. The council then has the requirement to hold a public hearing on the CIP. At that point in time, that's when the public can comment on the specific projects, the years, what has been put forward. Typically then what happens is the council, in their charter, it states that they are supposed, in the charter it states that they are supposed to adopt this by February. They have the ability to extend that deadline. Some years they do, some years they don't. The CIP is intended to give the executive's office, with what they adopt, a guideline as to what is the most important things in 2020, for this purposes, for 2027 when we're crafting the budget. This document does not authorize the executive, the council, any department to spend any money. This just gives a list of what things we would like to spend money on and how we think we're going to be able to afford them. This document just gives a list, just gives a plan. From there, the first column gets submitted with possibly adjustments into the budget, which the executive submits on the 3rd Tuesday in April. From that point, again, the budget then becomes a council document, and the council is required to adopt the budget by no later than June 15th. And then the new fiscal year starts July 1. So whatever gets adopted in the budget in typically June 7th through 10th-ish is approximately when it gets adopted each year. From that point on, July 1st, that becomes the spending authority for the next fiscal year. So again, this document is intended to be a plan. This document is intended to give a roadmap, but it is not authorizing anyone to spend any money at this point in time. And again, this plan, we want to hear what you think should be on this plan. One of the things that we are also required to keep track of is our debt limit. We are required to not exceed 12% of general fund revenue, of new revenue. So basically, if we take money out of our fund balance, that doesn't count as new revenue. So it can't go towards our debt limit or our principal and interest policy. For fiscal 26, our P&I estimated payment is $14.5 million. Our budgeted new revenue was $196 million, and as such, we are at 7.42%, which is below the 12% P&I policy. In addition, we have a debt limit that we are well below. That is calculated based on assessable base both for real property and personal property, but we are well below that number, and any amount of debt that we're looking to take on potentially would not exceed that number. So the projects that are under consideration based on discussions with, and this is not a complete list, this is kind of the highlights of that list from the departments. We're looking at continuing funding for the library, renovations to our correctional facility, renovations to the GOB. Some roads that we're potentially looking at is finishing the West Side Collector, Barron Creek, continuing dredging support for the Wicomico River. Moving forward with the Salisbury Septic Elimination Project. For Rec and Parks, we're looking at trying to complete or do the next phase of Pirate Wharf, complete the Mason-Dixon upgrades. In the plan is also looking at creating a master plan for Connolly Mill. At the airport, looking at expanding parking, getting a maintenance or a hangar for the new airport maintenance technician so that we would no longer be using the donated hangar from Piedmont. Providing fire suppression to the hangars so that we could continue to upgrade the services that are available at the airport. And then at solid waste, it is cell expansion. And these span all 5 years of the current plan that we're looking at. This is really tiny. You're better off looking at your piece of paper. But basically, in here, we also look at the priority list for the Board of Education. Last year at this time, we thought we needed to do some forward funding for the new Fruitland Primary. That did not have to happen in fiscal 26. It is now going to, unless something outrageous happens with the state budget, there is going to be a need for forward funding to keep the Fruitland Primary project on track. So the county has put in its $21.8 million already. The Board of Education has those funds available to them, but they need $30 million in fiscal 27 to be able to keep that project on track. And as such, right now the state estimate that they're going to get is about 14.6. So we as the county are going to have to keep that project on, we're going to either have to borrow or use our fund balance or do something to be able to afford to keep that project, because obviously we do not want to stop that project. The intention then is to, as the state pays their share in the out years, we as the county would get refunded. Now, if we borrow the money, the state will only pay for the principal amount. They will not pay for any interest that we do via borrowing. So we are looking at ways to creatively borrow those funds, potentially to borrow them as maybe a line of credit, so you only draw down what you need. Not doing like a general obligation bond, which is what we typically do, and borrow the funds for 20 years and then pay interest for 20 years on something that hopefully will be paid in, 2 to 5 years. In addition, the Board of Education puts out a full CIP on their behalf. That is out on their website. We only typically put in our number in what we think we might be able to afford. Their listing encompasses almost $500 million of funding between the Board of Education, or between the state and we as the county. And as such, we only put in the pieces that we feel at this point in time we have the funding to be able to cover. So if you have more questions or want to see that complete listing, that is out on the Board of Education's website. It is not, we do not reiterate it in ours because it would become basically a duplication, and we don't feel at this point in time those funds are available for us to utilize. So that is my presentation. If you have any follow-up questions after this meeting, you may reach out to the executive office through A.K. Kenny. That's her email address. And we now open it up to the public. Please keep your comments polite and respectful. And again, we probably will not answer any questions at this point in time. Again, this is for you guys to tell us what we're interested in, or what you're interested in. Not for us to respond at this moment. It is for us to listen and take notes. So we will open the floor.
Yeah, and actually, right before you do that, I know there was a couple people that came in a little bit later. So when you see the projects for consideration, keep in mind this is not a complete list. These are just the highlights. These are things that our department heads have come forward with. So if you see something, or you don't see something on the list and you want it to be added, please let us know. If there's something on this list that you support, we obviously want to hear from you on that. But as Pam said, we run our meetings a little bit different, so we want the public to be polite. And if, we're not going to, hear any criticism from our about our department heads or anything like that. So this, again, is for you to reiterate to us what you would like to see on this CIP. And for everybody's, we want to respect everybody's time, so we will have a 3-minute timer up here. And again, so we're going to go ahead and open the floor, so please feel free to step up if you have any public comments. I might give you 4 minutes, Dr. Stauffer. Give you 4. No, I'm just teasing.
Well, good evening. Micah Stauffer, Superintendent of Schools. Thank you, as always, for this opportunity to be here tonight. A sincere thank you to the county government for the support and funding to assist Wicomico County Public Schools, the implementation of our strategic plan, our plan for success. I do think it's important to note, as you said, that the WCPS operating budget is separate from the capital budget, which we're here to talk about tonight. Capital projects are planned years in advance and are subject to review by Wicomico County School Building Commission. I know you have representation on that. And those dollars are allocated for long-term investments in physical assets and for long-term investments for strategic use in our schools. Operating budgets support the day-to-day expenses of running a school system. WCPS works hard to prioritize capital needs to align with various data indicators that include enrollment, facility condition, and how we utilize our buildings and the space in those buildings. This past summer, we presented an independent facility condition assessment to the board and School Building Commission demonstrating how capital funding positively impacts our school facilities, which is always good to see. And in recognizing the significant investment required by local government for our top priority projects. We emphasize that such support is essential to leverage the substantial state funding that we also need for these projects as well. On average, school projects, major and systemic projects combined, are funded about 38% locally and 62% by the state. And you've probably heard me say this before, however, it never hurts to mention it again. We have 24 schools. And if a major renovation or replacement only occurs about every 5 years, it would be 120 years until we get back to the building we just completed, which was Mardello. So your support for the Fruitland Primary Project is greatly appreciated. We ask that we continue to collaborate on ways to move forward with our much-needed projects such as HVAC renovations, other important capital projects to our communities, to our students, our staff, and our parents, which you may hear about tonight, and of course the next replacement school, which was Wicomico Middle School, built in 1931. So we thank you for all that you're doing. We appreciate your collaboration and support. Thanks for this opportunity again.
Thank you, Dr. Stauffer.
I know this.
You have to move it down, yeah.
Thank you. Bonnie Ennis, Wicomico County Board of Education. On behalf of the Board of Education, I'd like to express our sincere gratitude to the county government for its commitment to forward fund our Fruitland project. Construction is currently in progress, and we anticipate welcoming students in September of 2027. But as you know, our school buildings address a wide range of county needs beyond the traditional classroom instruction. They provide spaces for before-school and after-school programs, extracurricular activities, heating and cooling centers, polling places, areas for joint use with the library, recreation, and parks, a school-based health center initiatives, and the Maryland Food Bank distribution sites. So capital funding allocated for prioritized school projects not only benefits educational objectives, but also supports these broader community services. We deeply appreciate your continued support for our HVAC system improvements, the Fruitland Primary Project, and property acquisition for Wicomico Middle School. These investments enable us to serve both the students of Wicomico County and the community effectively. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. Brian Reger, Chief Finance and Operations Officer for Wicomico County Public Schools. And again, I'd like to thank the executive for providing this opportunity tonight and the county government for investing in the capital project for our school system, including covering the needed cash flow for Fruitland Primary. It wasn't something we expected on the front end, but I'm so pleased and proud of the cooperation that's been exhibited between county government and the schools to keep that project on track. WCPS has consistently been a good steward of capital dollars and strives to use as many other funding sources as possible to deliver the board's prioritized capital projects. I'd like to highlight some of those projects. As Pam mentioned, it's a lengthy list, and we do constantly analyze the condition of all of our facilities, and we do maintain that list so we can prioritize not only future projects but also maintenance. So of course, starting with the forward funding of Fruitland Primary. Next is a heating, ventilation, and air conditioning upgrade at Fruitland Intermediate, for which we've been in discussions with county executive and staff to try and repurpose cost savings from completed Board of Ed projects for this much needed effort so that it can move forward. The next major project, if you heard Dr. Stauffer and Dr. Ennis, is the replacement Wicomico Middle School. It's an old building, but it's a solid building, and we're not looking to tear it down, but it's programmatically not the best structure for a current middle school. So the project will provide an opportunity to consolidate several programs that are scattered throughout various modular buildings into a centralized location at the existing school to more efficiently serve higher risk student populations. To move forward with this project, the board needs to acquire property and hire an architect for design. We're also planning for a heating, ventilation, and air conditioning upgrade at Westside Intermediate and Salisbury Middle School. And I encourage the public and all stakeholders to look at the data-driven prioritization process the board utilizes to address the many competing capital needs throughout the district in our educational facilities master plan, as well as several other projects listed in the board's capital plan, both of which may be found on our website, www.wicomicoschools.org. Thank you.
Back down with the microphone.
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Jo Branham, principal of Wicomico Middle School. And I'm honored to speak with you this evening in support of Wicomico County Public Schools' next major capital initiative, the construction of a new Wicomico Middle School. Our current building, which was originally constructed in 1930, or Stauffer just said 31, so right about there, has undergone multiple additions up until 1976. While these expansions were necessary, they've created significant daily challenges due to tight site constrictions and a fragmented design. For example, our cafeteria is only accessible via two inconveniently located stairwells. The main office is disconnected from the main entrance, complicating security and visitor access. And many of our instructional and support areas, including our food service, guidance, health, media center, science classrooms, special education, art, music, tech ed, family consumer science, long list, fall short of the modern middle school standards in both size and functionality. Following a comprehensive scoping study, the board, with support of the School Building Commission, have recommended a full replacement of the facility. An off-site location offers several key advantages: the long-standing layout and accessibility issues that we currently have within our building. It would provide expanded acreage to support wonderful programming like our athletics and things like that. It would be great. It eliminates the need for costly temporary swing space and a phased construction. We are eager to begin developing the educational specifications once funding is secured. The project represents a huge transformation and opportunity for our students to be in 21st century modern space. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
I broke the mic. Good evening, Ms. Giordano, staff. I think the last time I saw you, you were knocking on doors in Fruitland. So it's good to see you again. I just want to.
May we have your name, sir?
I'm sorry, I'm Kevin Lindsay.
Thank you.
I have a son that attends Parkside High School, but I just want to reiterate everything that was just said. I do appreciate the work you guys are trying to do. I'm a bit advocate for youth, the work I do with youth. So Fruitland, the new school, Y Middle, I'm a mentor, so I go in and out of school, so I can see their concerns and their struggles, and I hope you guys continue to support. So I'm just appreciative of everything. And I want to say this, and it's nobody's fault up here. County's been around for a long time, but I just want to put this bug in your ear. On October 15th, there was a soccer game at Parkside High School. Parkside versus Bennett, rivals. It was a 2-2 double overtime game. My son scored one of the goals. Just want to plug him.
Shout out.
But the concern, and I know I won't have any fighting this 4 or 5 years down the road, but my concern was after their varsity game, and the JV had to play. And the JV played one half because we don't have lights. And I think we've kicked this bucket down the road. We're missing out on school spirit, pride. Multi-use of County Stadium is great, but I think it's time for the major high schools in the area. If you look at all the surrounding counties, every high school has lights. And I know it's money involved and things of that nature, but I think it's time for us to start looking into that. It builds school pride. It can help solve some of the issues we're having in school. It's not going to solve all of them, but if my son or someone else or my niece can get up and stay at school to 3:30, 4 o'clock and play a 5 o'clock game, don't have to worry about the lights, that'll be awesome, instead of going over to County Stadium and sharing that. So I think it's time that sometime down the line, within the next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, that we actually look into that for Mardella, Bennett, and Parkside. And I know I've been going back and forth with Dr. Stauffer about it, and I know he's all in with athletics, but I just want to just put that plug in your ear, just something to consider it. You know, it's a shame when you have a playoff game like my son had last year, and we had to start it at 3 o'clock because we didn't have lights from a team that's coming from Calvert County. So I think that's unfair to everybody, so I just want to put that in your ear. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jim Atkins, Mardell. There's a couple things on here. There'll be time to debate and argue some of these things later, but a few things that I don't see on this list that I felt maybe would be on this list. One of them, maybe on the Board of Education's list, is the discussion lately about metal detectors. Looking at a little bit more than $6 million to implement them, and about $1.5 million with salary and maintenance every year. So that certainly is, my world, a priority, the safety of the children in school. Continuing on safety, don't see anything on the list. We're doing some renovations to the government office building, but I don't see anything on there about upgrading security with either metal detectors or anything. That's been talked about at a council meeting a few times, and just recently one of your security officers was assaulted in the lobby, so I think that's something that really needs to be looked at. Along with renovations, don't see anything on here regarding the renovations to the Verizon building, which the county now owns 100%. In roads, it's been spoken about several times. Zion Road and Zion Church Road, I don't think they are a repaving project. I think those roads are past repaving with the amount of truck traffic that follows up on that road back there. Another item that I don't see on here that was mentioned here recently is I realize we're doing maintenance work on Upper Ferry, but there was discussion not long ago about the county possibly purchasing a spare ferry so that when Upper Ferry or Whitehaven are out of service for 3 or 4 months, the community doesn't have to drive all the way around Salisbury to get to Somerset County or Princess Anne. So just some things that I'd like to maybe have some consideration about. Thank you.
Thank you, thanks. I was gonna say, I know you're not letting us off that easy. Come on. Okay. Hey, Lana, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good.
All right, I'll try to read fast.
Go ahead.
All right. Good evening. I'm here. Two things.
Can you state your names?
Oh, I'm sorry.
For the recording. I know you said
Sorry.
the first name, but it needs to be on the recording. Thank you.
Lana Foley, city and county resident. I'm here regarding the future of Conley Mill Park. Just a few things. 234 acres were donated. This is more for the public than whoever's listening. With the purpose of creating a public park for public use, not private profit. And the vision here was not that this land would be, as currently being discussed, as a long-term storage for dredge spoils. The property features old growth forest, wetlands, ponds, creeks, and a 22-acre lake. Why that is important is because once that's disrupted, it's impossible to get it back. The old growth trees are especially crucial to protect, and of course, the animals that are living within this park. The natural assets can deliver everything from peaceful walking trails and paddling access, which would be amazing, to educational opportunities for our youth about nature and the environment. And gifts like this are really a blessing to our public health, our mental wellness, and our community building. As a county, we both have the authority and the moral obligation to ensure this space becomes what it was promised to be, a park for everyone. It is our job, I'm almost done with this part. It is our job to bring it to the people, not to repurpose it into a dump site by depositing roughly 400,000 cubic yards of dredge spoils into the quarry site, essentially turning it into a long-term storage site rather than a park. The timeline mentioned was 30 years of dredge storage before any park development could begin. The donors didn't entrust this land for us to use it like this. So I'm just asking to please only move forward in safeguarding the original donor's intent. Conley Mill Park is a gift to Wicomico County residents. And since we're talking about schools, I would like to discuss speed bumps. By my daughter's school, she attends Pinehurst, we have had 2 children hit by a car in the last year. It seems that the solution was to add speed bumps, but I believe that instead of the speed bumps, we should actually take those out and put speed cameras around the school and connecting roads. The speed bumps don't seem to stop the speeding at all. And I've actually spoken with one of our local fire departments, and they have expressed how horrible the speed bumps are for getting the fire trucks to homes for emergencies. We should look into speed cameras instead, not only to enforce the speed limits, but also to protect the millions of dollars worth of equipment we use in the fire rescue. In addition, the speed cameras, the camera fees will contribute to our finances, and maybe those camera fees can help pay for the high school sports lights that Mr. Lindsay suggested.
Thank you.
My name is James Darlene, and I live in Wicomico County. I'm here tonight to represent advocates for the Save Connolly Mill Park movement. We urge you to maintain funding in the CIP and to take action to protect the original vision for Connolly Mill Park. As you know, this 234-acre property has a long-established plan to become a treasured public park. This original vision, formed upon the donation of the property in 2018, is a testament to what can be accomplished when the executive and legislative branches of our government work in concert with taxpayers, environmental groups, and stakeholders in a transparent and inclusive way. Years of public input are documented in the minutes of countless meetings. Yet, for the past year and a half, the future of this precious place has been under threat. Developing Connolly Mill Park would grow our economy, protect the Paleo Channel and other vital natural resources, and promote the physical, mental, and social well-being of our entire region. Located less than 5 miles from Salisbury's urban center and boasting unique topography, these 234 acres are poised to become the central park of Wicomico County. This could fill Recreation Parks and Tourism's desire to have a large-scale attraction that would attract transient visitors as described in their strategic SWOT analysis from 2025 to 2029. The harm of losing this asset, or the plan so responsibly developed for it, would be irreparable. The significant cost of this loss would be the blow to public trust in our government. If a plan was made with proper procedure and public input and it can be swept away, how can citizens trust the process? How can donors trust that their gift will be honored, or adjacent landowners trust the promises made to them? How can constituents feel their participation matters if their efforts can be overturned without discussion? Our community understands what is at stake and has bonded together to protect this vision. A broad coalition, including environmental agencies, recreational groups, mental health providers, and many impacted citizens, has attended government meetings, written letters, made phone calls, and stood up for Connolly Mill Park when it was recently removed from the capital improvement plan. An online petition signed by 1,265 people with comments expressing strong community support. Reversing plans for Connolly Mill Park would send a chilling message that public input can be disregarded, that donor intent can be ignored, and that the promises made to the community are not binding. This would cause long-term damage to the public's trust in their government. Please protect the public trust. Maintain funding in the CIP for the original vision for Connolly Mill Park. Thank you.
Joe Diggs, Wicomico County. I won't take 3 minutes. I just want to echo some of what's previously been said about Connolly Mill Park. I would like to see that project move forward in a timely manner. I'm against the dredge material being trafficked from the south part of town all the way up there. I'm also concerned about the Paleo Channel because we are the neighbors of the biorefinery that's about to go back to court. And I do appreciate your support on that and planning and zoning. So you can make some neighborhoods on the northwest side of town very happy by moving forward with Connolly Mill Park. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Andrea Matthias Schmuke. I'm a relatively new resident in the Summit Hills region. I, was not a property owner there at the time that the original land donations were made, and I've only been in the last few months familiar with sort of the discussion around the Connolly Mill Park area. I guess something that I perhaps thought might need to be looked at or maybe even rephrased a bit is that when I looked at some of the documents about the City of Salisbury's wellhead protection areas and the Paleo Channel's two main wellhead sites, they are defined by MDE and the City of Salisbury and the county as Zone 1 protection area. This is the sort of crux between Leonard Mill Pond Run and Connolly Mill Branch, essentially 3,000 feet upstream from the two main drinking water well sources for everything downstream is the area, is the property that is in question and that we're calling the Connolly Mill Park project. I think it would be more aptly probably named the Paleo Channel Well Field Protection Plan. I'm not here to say what should go there. I think a park is a great idea. I understand capital funds are always of issue. I do feel like in all the existing plans that I've been able to locate in the public domain, that it's fairly clear what should not go there. And that would be anything that would be sedimentary, contaminants that have been identified by MDE, river dredging contents and sediment issues are well documented from the Delaware River. So I would just submit that perhaps besides just thinking of this as unique to a few homeowners and communities in the Del Mar area, we should really be thinking about it as the main source of the entire county's and certainly the City of Salisbury's drinking water. So for that, among the potential plans and priorities that are listed here, it really does address several things that are also on other departments' priorities, I think, is to protect the drinking and the well water at the Paleo Channel there. Thank you.
My name is Fiona Darlene from Wicomico County, and I am here to express how Connolly Mill Park deserves to be funded. I believe this park will be an absolute crucial part of our community and deserves to be created as was originally intended. This project could have been almost finished and ready for families and people to be exploring, but unfortunately it got delayed and basically taken off priority because of an ATV park. I think that was pure nonsense and we should stick to the real plan here. This park deserves its funding and more, and maybe no more ideas being put in between. Thank you.
Mike Goldberg, Wicomico County. I'm going to pile on about Connolly Mill Park. I think one thing that must be considered is what is the highest and best use for this tract of land. Highest not only just in its value, but also with its actual elevation. We must keep in mind that any runoff from this will run downstream into, is within the drainage shed of the Wicomico River. A promise was made at the time that the land was donated to the county, and that promise was to use it as a site from which sand would be extracted for use at the landfill for a limited period of time, and thereafter it would become a low-impact park. I think it's imperative if the government is going to have any credibility whatsoever that that promise be kept. If I were going to donate land and I knew that prior promises had not been kept, then I might be very reticent to donate that land. This is a park that will serve not just the northern part of Wicomico County, but also the City of Salisbury, since it is within an urban district. It would be very accessible for people from Delaware, into all of the surrounding counties. This is a promise that was made. By God, let's keep that promise, and keeping in mind that this is environmentally sensitive land. On a daily basis, living adjacent to it, I see turkeys, I see bald eagles, I see foxes, deer. There's just all kinds of wildlife. There is diminishing habitat, for these animals, and I think it would be a darn shame to industrialize a site. And let's not fool ourselves. Industrializing that site, using it as a deposition site for the dredge spoil, will forever foreclose the possibility of this becoming a park that can be used by everybody. This would be the lowest and worst use, and for anybody who understands the fundamentals of real estate, any tract of land should be used to its highest and best use. So that's all I got to say. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Christina Holslander, and I am here representing the Lower Eastern Shore Group of the Sierra Club, the nation's oldest environmental group that represents 4 counties of Wicomico, Worcester, Somerset, and Dorchester. And recently we had a membership meeting and talked about Connolly Mill Park, or what we look forward to being Connolly Mill Park. And our membership is super duper excited about the potential of what that land will be for public access to enjoy as a natural area. The county, ironically, is receiving comments now and has in the past, and we trust that you absorb our comments and take them to heart, and we'll move forward with your best judgment and our requests. This land was donated with certain intent, and some of the projected uses for this land, particularly with the dredge material, is counter to what the land was donated for and what the public is wanting it to be used for. We know that dredge material has the potential for heavy metals, for things that are counter to our drinking water supply. It would be egregious for this county to do anything that is going to jeopardize the water quality for our citizens. So we urge you to disregard the notion of using dredge in this location. I'm curious why the dredge material can't be used with the sand in landfill lining. If that is a true need, then let's line the landfill with part of the dredge material. But I'd also like the county to look at options that the Army Corps of Engineers has used in the past with other locations throughout the Chesapeake Bay of using dredge spoils to create habitat off of moving it through barges to Chesapeake Bay island areas for habitat restoration instead of bringing it to Connolly Mill. I do look forward to Connolly Mill becoming a park for public recreation, even if that means in your planning for year to year funding all of these important needs in the county, that perhaps in a staged approach, fence off the quarry location, start making a plan for us to get access to the other natural areas so we can enjoy the habitats that exist, and we can also protect the soil, water, and land of the area. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having us here tonight. Holly Campbell, Wicomico County. Here to speak like many others about Connolly Mill Park, but I also would like to support, I think Mr. Atkins brought up the metal detectors in the schools. I didn't see that on here either. But as a mother of 4 and having one back in Wicomico County schools, I would love to see that happen. I hear a lot of bragging about our $80 million or however many million we have. I think it's a priority to get our schools safe. I think our schools are a foundation for our community, not just for the students, but for the businesses, for the economic development, which I know rings the bells for you guys. Working in real estate, I know how hard it is to get people to recruit to come here to buy houses here when they're disappointed in our school system. And I will tell you that happens very frequently. I meet with a lot of people who are leaving our county for other school systems, so I think that that should be taken seriously. I think improving the safety would be a huge help. I also want to comment back about Conley Mill Park. Executive Bob Culver, the County Council, Weston Young, Steve Miller all collaborated on the ideas that would be what Conley Mill property, Conley Mill Park would become, and that was very specifically defined as excavation and a public park. It was not to be something else. And I know because I was there. I was there at the meetings. There's lots of documentation in the county council minutes. You've heard about it all night. We've talked about this many times. I think what we'd like to see from our perspective and from the public is that you, again, stick with that plan, abandon all other plans. Okay, Mr. Smethurst was given all of these ideas too. Mr. Smethurst was a great neighbor when he owned the property. He was a great neighbor to Shadow Hills and worked collaboratively with our community to help him keep up with some of the problems he had on that property. I think it would be very disappointing for him if he were here today to hear what is happening with any conversation about dredge material. I don't think that he would tolerate, and I'm speaking on his behalf, but I can't really do that, but he's not here to even speak. And he would never, in my opinion, have allowed that topic to come up without the community's involvement because he didn't last time. So we were approached by the county. The county had these ideas. It was never our idea to make a park. And I feel like that's come up over and over, but this was the county's vision with the collaborative effort. And Mr. Smethurst was told that that's what would happen. And we felt at the time that that was going to be honored. And now we feel like it's not being honored. So we think you are obligated to honor that. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jackie Grindrod. I'm with the Sierra Club Lower Eastern Shore Group, and I would like to support all of the comments that have been made in favor of honoring the promises that the county made when it took the ownership of Connolly Mill property. Perhaps most important is the consideration of the water quality. We are already in a society that has so dirtied up its environment that we are walking around with pieces of microplastics in our bodies. That's scientifically proven. That is not going to be improved by dirtying up the water that is protected now and is not being disturbed by Connolly Mill. You have to make good on the promise that was made. You cannot do anything other than that without, first of all, trashing your legacy forever in this county, but with also taking on the responsibility and the blame for making us even unhealthier than we are now environmentally. So I urge you to do the right thing and make a passive public park out of Connolly Mill. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Desmond Stewart. I just want to put my words in support with everyone that's came up already. Talking about Connolly Mill Park, I don't really have much more to say than what they've already been said. But I would like to talk about the safety of our schools. I also want to echo what Mr. Atkins had to say about metal detectors, but I served as a long-term substitute in Wicomico County in 2022, just recently left, I think here at the middle of October, and found new employment. But I think all too often, before I started serving as a long-term sub, I was bouncing around the schools, you know, where it was Mardella, Bennett, Pinehurst, Pemberton, and I found it way too easy to gain access into the schools with just a few words. All I'd have to say is, I'm here to sub. No one would ask me, you know, who am I here to sub for before I took those steps in the school. No one asked what my badge number was, my work badge that I had to wear all the time. I kind of just said, I'm here to sub, and they unlocked the door. So I would say, you know, beyond metal detectors if there's something, you know, and I'm glad I have the superintendent and members of the Board of Education here, if there's something that we can do in terms of maybe procedure or policy about our front office staff or someone else being able to have an extra check on our schools. And I know also resource officers is a big issue too. And I would just like to say that I think it would be great if we can have more resource officers around our schools, especially with the more recent events at the high schools with weapons and things like that. Thank you.
This is typically not a back and forth conversation, but I will say there is a work session at the next council meeting with the Board of Education that talks about the safety and the implementation of, you know, with the metal detectors. So that work session is happening with the council. The agenda just came out today, so that's probably why people didn't see it, but it is out there.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Monica Brooks. I am a resident of Wicomico County. I'm also president of Wicomico County NAACP, but I'm going to go over a couple of categories. The first, since we're already on a roll with this Connolly Mill, I want to bring up what happened in 2013, 12, or what have you. The county thought it was okay to allow someone to put up 13 mega poultry houses on top of the Paleo Channel. And because of the residents, we all, and some of them are here tonight, came together and formed an organization and group and came to councils and discussed with everyone, why would you even want to permit this, even though some of it came from MDE. But the point is that there was absolutely no consideration on the importance of the Paleo Channel. And that was a fight that we fought for about 2.5 years, and we won. But it was, and unfortunately, it had nothing to do with that important piece of the importance of the Paleo Channel. And so in this same vein, you know, I want this county to be able to flip that script and put an emphasis on the importance of protecting our water sources, because it's a blessing to be able to actually know where your water comes from. I mean, we have that blessing here in this county. The other thing is, I am not in support of the dredging, but the other thing I've mentioned before is about the composting, and another way for us that can be under capital improvements. I researched it, and just another way that we can actually bring in other money to the county is composting makes a lot of money for municipalities. Just look it up. Tons and tons and tons, and that also gives us another way to be environmentally friendly. I want to talk about sidewalks or places for people to walk. And these are places that I see people walking all the time that really there's nowhere for them to walk. The north part of 13 on Salisbury, in Salisbury, so that area, I guess if you go from the mall up to where Walmart is, there are people pushing strollers in the streets on that all the time. And Naylor Mill Road. Naylor Mill Road has become a place for people to walk as well. They come up Jersey Road, come up Naylor Mill Road as their access to get to North Salisbury. Same thing. People are walking. There's not even any lines or a bike lane or anything. So I would like that. The last thing, the fields, the lights on the field, I agree, but San Domingo, which I brought up, so in 2022, they're still waiting for lights on their park, San Domingo. Thank you.
And Monica, I'll share with the mayor, because those streets that you mentioned are in the city of Salisbury, but I'll reiterate the sidewalk situation to him as well.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, any other public comment?
Good evening, everyone. Megan Outen, Wicomico County resident. Thank you again to the county government for this opportunity to speak. I had no plans to actually provide comment, but I did want to emphasize my support for some items that you guys have on here. One, I think we've heard this a couple of times, additional school funding. I've seen that we've had some great allocation already. I would love to see more. I think it's been mentioned several times. Schools are the foundation of our community, and when we go above and beyond to invest in them, we're helping our community at large. So I'd love to see if there's some opportunity for us to find some additional funding to meet some of those additional items that the Board of Education identified in their own CIP. And then 2, Connolly Mill Park, really big supporter of making sure that we're preserving the original vision of that park. We've seen the data, open spaces do wonderful things for our community here. And I believe that not only is this gonna be a great environmental benefit for our community, but an economic one as well, big tourism driver for us here in Wicomico. So just those 2 emphases, and thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Craig Fonts. I live in the city of Salisbury, Wicomico County. I hear about the park, and I've been to a few of these meetings, and I always hear people talking about funding and spending, and you know, that's how you get things done. You have to fund, but I never hear anything about saving. And when it comes to the park, I guess you could save a park, but there's ways you can save money to help pay for the park. You're spending a lot of money to take trucks, gasoline trucks, doing a, I don't know how many mile trip, maybe 9-mile trip back and forth thousands of times. That's a lot of gas. You could fund the park partially by just using the barges, because that's the absolute cheapest way to move material. And I imagine the Wicomico River, or, you know, it goes down there. I don't really know what's down the way. But I would think there's probably areas that need to have the land built up because of the rising water. Maybe they could use it in that sense. But, you know, like I said, just think of a way to maybe save some money, because you need to spend money for schools and all things like that. And certainly a park isn't going to be a free, you know, it's going to cost money to build a park. But I'm old enough to remember when my parents drove me around the country and we went to Yosemite and, you know, these great parks. And there was no trash, there was no litter. And I've lived here for 5 years, and I've walked around and picked up a couple 100,000 pounds of litter and dumped it in your dump. It's everywhere. So the idea of a big park with a big lake in the middle of it, where kids can go and see it clean, maybe make it an educational facility of some kind, where people get on buses and travel from all over to it, make it an asset for the community, and instead of just a park, make it a learning institution. So I think you could save a lot of money if you put it on a barge. I don't know where the heck you'd take it, but you know, it's, I know that fuel.
We're working on that, yeah.
I'm sure fuel is a lot of money. And I think, and I'm guessing, is that you've got this big lake out there that's beautiful. And people look at it like the easiest thing to do is just put it in a lake. It's contained, it's the lake. But just because something's the easiest thing to do doesn't always mean it's the right thing to do. And I don't know too much of the history, but I do feel, and what I've read is, if someone gave property for a specific purpose, I find it unusual to go against the purpose of that original. Sorry, is that my time?
Yes. But go ahead.
I've talked. No, that's all. I think I saw it. But like I said, a place for kids to go and see a clean place and to experience nature the way it is. It's different than any of these parks you have here, because they're all dirty. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is anyone else? All right. Well, thank you all for attending. This concludes our meeting, and I hope you all have a good evening.